this weekend to monitor the situation in Syria. Just that, do you take as a sign that military action is coming?
Yeah, I hope so. I just can't imagine this situation not resulting in decisive military force being used. What Obama did didn't work. What Trump did the first time didn't work. There's no doubt in my mind that this chemical attack came from the Assad regime. So at the end of the day, you've got to have a military response that destroys Assad's capability to do it yet again.
But as Barbara was laying out, it's tough to decide what option to hit. What is a good option? You've before said take out the Air Force, but it doesn't sound like taking out the Air Force would have stopped if the chemical attack's coming out of a helicopter.
Well, if the air bases can't be used for fighter jets, that's a step in the right direction. I would go after all the infrastructure around his air capability. I would hit his intelligence services, who are complicit in war crimes. I would make Assad a target because I think he's a war criminal. What I would do is let Kim Jong-un and the Ayatollah know that when Trump sets a red line, he means it. If this is not an all-out assault on Assad's capability to deliver chemical weapons, if it's not an effort to degrade his regime, it will be a miserable failure. This got to be part of a broader strategy.
But Senator, when you say that you think Assad is a should be a military target now, you think he's a legitimate military target?
Absolutely.
You would support the president going in to take him out?
Absolutely. I think he's a war criminal by any definition. How many people do you have to kill by chlorine gas until you become a war criminal? How many times do you have to gas your own people? How many hundreds of thousands do you have to kill? Yeah, he's a definite legitimate target. Here's what I think.
But is anything then short of regime change going to be acceptable to you now?
Well, my goal is to give Syria back to the Syrian people, not the Iranians. There's three things we got to avoid in Syria. Damascus falling into the hands of the Iranians that have created a land bridge from Tehran to Beirut. They're funneling weapons from Damascus into Lebanon, which is a nightmare for Israel. We can't let ISIS come back, so that's why we need to leave troops in Syria working with coalition partners. And the last thing, the way we handle this situation has to be a strong message to other bad actors like North Korea and Iran.
So, because we don't know what the president is going to decide, we don't know. Have you spoken to him, by the way, since the chemical attack?
No, I haven't, but the last time I talked to him, it was about withdrawing our forces. We have 2,000 people working with the Syrian Democratic Forces to hold the territory we liberated from ISIS. If we don't keep that force in place, I think ISIS will come back. I think Europeans should be on the ground with us helping train Syrian Democratic Forces. I think Arabs should pay for the cost of reconstructing Syria. I think they should be on the ground, but an American withdrawal in that part of Syria will lead, I think, to the rise of ISIS yet again.
I actually wanted to ask you about that because the White House press secretary was asked yesterday about the fact that he's this desire to bring troops home, but she says that it's not it in no way degrades his ability to hold parties responsible. Do you think that's true? Do you think he can do both of these things?
Absolutely not. If the goal is to make the Arabs pay more and contribute more, count me in. If the goal is to get our European partners more involved in dealing with Syria, count me in. If the goal is to leave Syria and outsource our national security to some foreign army, count me out. There is no substitute for American forces when it comes to holding the territory liberated by ISIS. And you have to believe that ISIS is no threat to the United States. You'd have to believe that Iran dominating Syria doesn't matter to the United States. I reject both of those concepts. So we got to do two things. We got to hold the territory that we've liberated
when Sarah
from
Sanders
ISIS.
says that you can do both of these things, you say that she is wrong. That's the White House stance is that his desire to pull everybody out and also hold people accountable is not possible.
Not possible. It'd be the biggest mistake since Obama left Iraq. How many times do we have to learn the same lesson? If you leave too soon, you're going to regret it. So 2,000 troops is small compared to what we've had in Iraq, Afghanistan in the past. 2,000 troops can really do some good in Syria. If we pull out, there is no way we're going to hold the territory without some American involvement. And if you don't understand that Syria is crucial to regional stability and our national security, you're making a huge mistake.
At this moment, we don't know how the president is going to respond. If he doesn't respond with military action, if he doesn't do that, if he says, let's go to the UN and discuss, what does that mean to you?
It'd be the biggest mistake of his presidency. Good luck getting North Korea to change their behavior because you drew a red line, whether you should or you shouldn't, you did. So Trump says he's going to pay a big price. If at the end of the day he doesn't pay a big price, then President Trump becomes like Obama, weak in the eyes of our enemies and unreliable in the eyes of our allies. So this is the most consequential decision he will make. He set aside is going to pay a big price. That big price has to include the destruction of his air capability and putting him on the target list. Anything less, I think, is not a very big price.
You've called this a defining moment for this administration.